My brothers and sisters, may the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. The disciples of John approached Jesus and said, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast much, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered them, "Can the wedding guests mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast." The Gospel of the Lord. The three pillars of the Lenten season are almsgiving, fasting, and prayer. We'll find during the course of these days that these themes sort of keep cropping up in the course of the scriptures that are presented for us. In each instance, of course, that prayer, that fasting, that almsgiving is not of itself the end. It is rather the vehicle or the tool out of which someone moves to a different understanding, a different level of conviction and of acceptance and of faith. We're told even by people who are not people of faith that, for example, sometimes to fast is a healthy thing because you get rid of a lot of the toxins in your system. And so this is something unique to Christianity or to religion in general, but also something that's good for the body. Today we see fasting itself specifically as the theme that is presented to us, and it's interesting how the theme has sort of shifted a little bit when we look at it in the prophet Isaiah, that first reading today. The prophet on behalf of the Lord is saying to the people, you're fasting, you're doing all these things, and yet you're still quarreling, you still are being unfaithful, you are still being wicked and striking down those who work for you. And he proceeds to tell them the kind of fasting that they're looking for. He says, "This is the manner of fasting I wish, of keeping a day of penance. Do you call this a fast? No, the fast I want is to release those bound unjustly, untying the thongs of the yoke, setting free the oppressed, breaking every yoke, sharing your bread with the hungry, sheltering the oppressed and the homeless, clothing the naked when you see them, and not turning your back on your own." Saint Teresa of Avila, who was the great reforming nun of the 15th century, had lots of difficulty in trying to reform the community she was a part of. It was a point prior to the Carmelites being reformed that they were far from living out the call, even to the point that if you were a person of means, the sister would have her own servant who would prepare her meals and clean her room and take care of the duties that she was supposed to take care of. And of course, all of this Teresa tries to change. And there's one particular point in her story where some of the nuns are really getting on her back again as they're celebrating one of the feasts which would allow them to have meat. And so she's sitting there eating this chicken, really enjoying it. And they're very taken by this and say, "How can you be so excited about this chicken? You shouldn't be that way." And Teresa proceeds to say to them, when you fast, you fast, and when you feast, you feast. And it is the balance of the fasting and the feasting that must mark all of our lives. The season of Lent is that time in a special way of fasting. It is the awareness, as the gospel suggests to us today, that the Savior is not with us, we are losing him. And the season of Easter in many ways is ultimately the season of feasting, because it is remembrance that all that had taken place during this season came to fruition and didn't end in vain. It ended up being a point of victory, a point of salvation, and a point of new life. And so as we ourselves undergo certain of these disciplines during this season, let's use them in the right way. Let them be a vehicle for us to get to a deeper understanding of what God is calling each of us to be.